Forecasting is a very inexact science. Anyone who's watched the weather knows that. But there are certain things that we can be virtually 100, well, maybe 95, 98, 99.999% probable it is going to happen. And some of them we know that it's going to happen on a certain date. So, for example, I'll give you an example of this. I am 100% sure that someday I'm going to die. Fortunately, I don't know the date that is going to happen, but I am 100% certain that I'm going to die. Now, I can just sort of ignore that fact, like most people do, or I can do some things like having life insurance, like making sure that my business and passwords and things like that are in a situation where somebody could step in and use that data so that it doesn't become a huge problem as I die. There's lots of things that if you know that something's going to happen, you can actively prepare for that. So let me just tell you a quick story. A few years ago, we had a blizzard that hit Racine, Wisconsin. It was like 6-foot drifts in my side yard. It was a severe blizzard. They told us several days in advance, there is a blizzard coming. If you need to shop, if you need to get food, if you need to do these, go now, because you're not going to be able to go anywhere for about 24 hours once this blizzard hits. All right. So we knew about that. We'd gone shopping. We had filled up with a bunch of things. And it turns out that I was speaking at a conference 3 days after the blizzard was supposed to hit. And maybe 4. I can't remember 100% sure. And sure enough, so I know that there's a blizzard coming. The weather forecasters have told us it's hitting at 7 p.m. on Tuesday night. Okay, so I was preparing, and at about 5:30, I turned to transfer the presentation that I was going to be making out in San Diego onto my laptop, and my laptop didn't boot. And I knew that I had a hard drive that had just died. I also knew that this place, it was going to shut down, and so I couldn't order something via Amazon. It wasn't going to get here. I knew that for me to be able to do that presentation, I needed a new hard drive now. And so at 5:30, knowing it's already snowing, knowing that the blizzard was going to hit at 7, I jumped in the car, drove down to Best Buy to buy a new hard drive so that I would have that, and so that I could be able to do everything I needed to do to have that presentation on the hard drive. All right, so I get down there, and hey, it's a nice, peaceful evening. I'm like the only person in the store besides the employees, and so I start looking around. It's like, hey, I could get a hard drive. Are there any of these laptops on sale? You know, what version of it? And basically, I wasted about an hour and just looking around the store, having a good time. You put me in a tech store, and I'm just happy as a clam. My wife calls me and she goes, "Why aren't you home yet? The blizzard is almost here." And it's like, "Well, I'm getting ready to check out here." And it's like, "What?" And by the time I checked out, got in the car, started driving home, it was already snowing like crazy. By the time I got about a mile from my house, the blizzard hit at 7:02. So 3 days before they said it was going to arrive at 7 o'clock, they were 2 minutes off. And it was total whiteout conditions. I knew I was on a road that curved like this. I had no idea where I was in relationship to that curve. And I knew that there are cars behind me, potentially. There are cars in front of me, potentially, and I could see nothing. It took me probably 20 minutes to go 200 yards to get through that curve and get past that little tough part, and I finally got home. All right, so here's the thing. Could I have known that my laptop was going to crash in advance? No, because hard drives just tend to go when they go. Could I have had another hard drive sitting in my house? Yeah, I probably could have, but I didn't. But here's the thing. When I was in that store, I was downright stupid by spending so much time looking at other laptops, looking at different things. I should have got in, did what I needed to do, and get out and gotten home, because I literally could have gotten in a wreck and died. But I was foolish and did not do that. And so there's a good example of me being stupid and being bad and how that can affect us. Well, there are many, many things where we have a very, very high probability it's going to happen. And if we act now, we can not only be more prepared, and so it won't be an emergency for it like it was for me, that emergency when I was in that whiteout condition. But in addition to that, if you're the one who prepares in advance, then not only is it not an emergency for you, and so it's cheaper in time and effort and money and everything else like that to get that solution done, but also you oftentimes can have a competitive advantage because you've acted before everyone else. So what I'd like to hear from you, put it into the chat, is what are some of the things that you are 95% probable are going to happen in the fairly near future, where if we acted now, we would get a better result. Okay, so I'm going to give you several examples of those right now for you just to go into your brainstorming, your thinking process as you start to do your own planning. All right, so here's one of them. Clubhouse. It's a land grab right now. It's new. There are all kinds of people there and it's we're pretty confident that it's, at least in the short term, there's going to be a lot of people wanting to be on Clubhouse. So I'm on Clubhouse. If you're on Clubhouse, I'd love you to follow me there. And I haven't figured out exactly how to do Clubhouse in my own life because I've got so many things going on in my life. But I'm working on that. And so I'm working on this. But we do know that Clubhouse is, at least at the moment, big, and we ought to be doing something to make that work in our behalf. We'll probably talk more about Clubhouse at some point in the future and go from there. Okay, second thing. Google has announced that site load speed will affect your Google rankings. It already does and has been for a couple of years. But in May 2021, there are 3 factors called Core Web Vitals that will come specifically into play. If you are not doing those things, your ranking on Google is going to go down. We know that right now. It is currently February 2021. There are fairly simple things we can do to fix this, to prevent our site from going down. Here's the other thing. If we fix it, then your competitors who don't fix it in May of 2021, their site ranking is going to plummet, and somebody's got to fill in those spots. That could be you, by having you start acting now. So I encourage you to go research this Core Web Vitals concept, what it means, how to fix it. You may need to hire some technical support. There may be some other things, but this is something that is important for you to start acting on now. Here's the next piece. I am 100% confident that unless something happens like a new COVID that shuts down everything again, that ad prices are going to continue to rise. And so I strongly recommend that now is the time to build your email list. That if you're going to spend $3,000 in advertising to build your email list, it's much better to do it now than it will be in 6 months, than it will be in 12 months, than it will be in 24 months. Now is the time to build your email list. You'll be glad that you did. While we're on the subject of that, this concept of retargeting. So we already know that iOS 14 is changing Safari's ability to take third-party cookies. And we also know that next year, third-party cookies are going to totally go away out of Google Chrome. Now, some of you have no idea what I just said. Basically, what it'll mean is it'll get significantly harder for sites like Facebook to know all the different sites that you go to. So long story short, there's never been a better time to do retargeting ads. And retargeting ad efficiency and cost is going to become worse in the next year. The question is, are you going to act now when it's easy and cheap to do it? Or are you going to wait a year from now when it may not even be possible in some situations? And it certainly will be more expensive in some situations to be able to do retargeting the way we do it right now. Now is the time to do that. Here's the next one. With the problems that I just talked about happening with iOS 14 and those things, there are many things that are going to change. One of them is that ads are going to become significantly less effective, significantly more costly to get things. And one of the things that's going to make that work is going to be YouTube ads. And so what's going to happen is right now, I can go to a YouTube ad that is about the subject that I want to advertise on. And I can say, hey, I want to run an ad in front of that ad, in front of that video, or I want to run it in the middle, mid-roll, or I want to run it at the end, post-roll. And I can say, I want to target that particular video. Well, here's what's going to happen. As cookies go away, what's going to happen is YouTube as a property, those videos are still going to be an incredibly powerful advertising mechanism, because people can say, hey, this video about how to raise aardvarks' pets is exactly what my course on raising aardvarks' pets ought to be advertised on. And all of a sudden, all the other hundreds of people who are doing courses on how to raise aardvarks' pets are going to want to advertise on that particular video. But if I start running ads on it right now, I can get a whole bunch of people onto my email list and onto my retargeting list and start selling them my course about raising aardvarks' pets now, whereas a year from now, it's going to be significantly more expensive to do that. And so we know already that a year from now, YouTube ad costs are going to skyrocket. That means start figuring out YouTube ads now and start building those, start using them well now. But there's another element to that on the other side, which is my video about how to raise aardvarks' pets is going to become much more popular for other people wanting to advertise on that later on. And so there's another piece, which is you ought to be doing YouTube videos now and turn on advertising on them, earn the right to be able to do that. You've got to have a certain number of viewers. You've got to have a certain number of views. You've got to have a certain subject area that you can't get into. Qualify to become a YouTube advertiser so that, excuse me, to have YouTube advertising running on your videos so that when that rush of people coming and wanting to advertise on videos, you're already positioned there. Okay? 100% probability this is going to come. YouTube ads are going to get significantly more expensive. So you know that. Now we can act. Okay, here's another one. Google Analytics 4 is coming. It's already been released. We can go start using it right now. It's got a bunch of different data that is, and in many cases, improved data. The way they look at data is changing. This is now the time to start looking at it, figuring it out, using it, turning it on so you can start seeing it, and so that you can start to actually use this so that when Google Analytics old gets turned off, and this is turned on, you're not trying to figure out what in the world's going on. 100% probability that's, well, I'll say 95% probability that's coming. All right, here's another one that I dearly hope is 100% probability, which is COVID life will change. I am dearly hoping, as we all are, that COVID's going to someday go away. Here's my question. You've learned how to operate your business within the COVID environment. What are you doing to operate your business in the post-COVID environment? People are getting vaccinated now. We know that in the next X months, whatever X means, things are going to go to a post-COVID world. We don't know 100% what that's going to look like, but I can assure you web's still going to be hot. We're going to go back to some in person, but it's going to be a different kind of relationship. What are you doing, because you know it's coming, to be able to thrive in the post-COVID world? You know what's coming. What are you doing? Here's the next one. You've already seen this happen. Most of your page views on your website are already happening via cell phones. We know 100% probability that amount is going to go up. Are all of your pages, and especially forms and sales pages and all aspects of everything you do on the web, are they designed from the ground up to work best on cell phone and then make it work on your desktop? Or are you still doing it on desktop, and if I get around to it 6 months later, I'll figure out how to make it look good on a cell phone? It's not the way to do it anymore. Do it the way that your audience is actually working right now. Okay. One more piece. Virtually 100% probability is that you will someday wish you had saved more. The day is going to come where you will say, why did I spend so much on coffee? Why did I spend so much on chocolate? Why did I spend so much on doing those vacations? Why did I buy a new car instead of a used car? Why didn't I save that money? I sure wish I had that now. I had it before. Why didn't I save some of it? So these are some of the things that I see, just brainstorming for 5 minutes, as an incredibly high probability, 95% probability that each one of these things is going to happen. Each one of these things has indications that we can and should be doing right now, that if we do them, we will be in a better situation when they do happen, and we will have a competitive advantage potentially coming out of it by doing this. So here's what I'd love to see. I would love to see your estimates of what you can see as high probabilities that we should be preparing for. Next, of these things that I just showed you, what are some of them that you want to know more about, so that I can do other presentations on them to teach you more about them and how you ought to be preparing for that. All right? Because some of these things I actually know something about. Some of them I'm pretty clueless about. And so, but hey, your requests can help me to become less clueless, and hopefully we can all grow together in this. Let me know in the comments. Please don't be like Stupid Don caught in a whiteout because he was too lazy to get himself out of the store. You know it's coming. Let's prep now so we're ready when it arrives. This is Don Crowther saying, just go do this stuff.